Hello, grade 10s. So today we are looking at factorization, okay? And you're going to have 4 classes on this. You're going to have 4 classes. What is it on factorization? Okay, so let's start. What is a factorization? It is the process of writing a number or an expression as a product of its factors. Okay, so as a product of its factors. Okay, so here what we have here, this is just an expression, and what we want to do here is to write it as a product of its factors. Now, how do you do that? You do that by finding the highest common factor. You find the highest common factor, something that you are finding on the first term and also on the second term. Okay, so if we are to look at this, we can see that 3 can go into 9. So we can write 3. Okay, what about x? We can see that the lowest order of x here is x to the power of 1. So we're going to write x here. Then we take it out. Now 3x into 3x cubed. We're going to have 3 into 3 is going to give us 1. Then we're going to be left with 3x squared. Okay, then here 3x into 9x, x and x we're going to cancel. And here 3 into 9 is going to give us 3. So it's going to be plus 3. Okay, so this is what you need to do, guys. If we are to divide here, remember you are actually saying x to the power of 3 divided by x, and by a law of our exponents we know that it's going to be x to the power 3 minus 1, which is the power here, the exponent here that we have. Okay, this will give us x to the power 2. That's where we are getting the x to the power of 2 here inside here. So this is our final answer. Let's move on to the next one. Now, what do you see common in terms of numbers? So what I want to encourage you guys that try to work it out in this way. You check in terms of numbers, what is common? So what's common here is 4. What about in terms of x? X squared is the smallest, is the lowest order. So here it's going to have x squared. Then outside here, you're going to have left with x, because 4 and 4 is going to cancel, and plus 4 into 12 is going to give us 3. X squared is going to cancel like that. Okay, so this is our final answer like that. So this is how we factorize. Now let's move on to something else now. Now, when you look at this here, you can see that it's 3a squared minus 9b plus 12ab. But what is common in terms of numbers here? Let's start to see. We can see that 3 is common because 3 can go into 3, 3 can go into 9, 3 can also go into 12. Okay, what about in terms of letters? Do we see a common here throughout? We don't see that because a is not found on the second term. On the second term is only 9b. So a is not common. What about b? B, we can only find it on second and third term, but on the first term b is not there. So we can see that in terms of letters, none of them is common. So what are we going to do? We're going to take it out. We're going to take only 3. 3 into 3 is going to give us a squared there, minus 3 into 9 is going to give us 3b. Then 3 into 12 is going to give us plus 4ab. Okay, so this is going to be our final answer like that. What about if we look here? Let's start with numbers again. Do we see 8? Does 8 go into 16? Yes, 8 goes into 16. Does 8 go into 36? Yes, 8 goes into 36. Let's just confirm there. Okay, 36 divided by 8. Let's see if we can get. No, it can't go into 36. What about what else? What number? It's gonna be 4. 4 can go into 16. 4 can go into 8. 4 can also go into 36. So we can see that in terms of numbers here, 4 is something that is common. Okay, what about in terms of x? Do we see x throughout? Yes, we see 3x x throughout. So we're going to take the lowest order here, which is 2. Okay, power of 2. So we're going to take x2 there. What about in terms of y? So y is the lowest one, is 3. So it's going to be y3. Because we can see that y is found throughout. Then we open our bracket. 4 into 16 is going to give us 4. Then we go each letter by each letter, what you call separately. So x to the power 2 into x to the power 4 is going to be 4 minus 2 is going to give us x to the power of 2. Then 8 minus 3 is going to give us y to the power of 5 minus 4 into 8 is going to give us 2. 4 into x into x squared into x cubed is going to give 3 minus 2. It's going to give us x only. Then here 7 minus 3 is going to give us y to the power of 4. Then plus 4 into 36. We're going to find it is 9. and we're going to write 9 there. Then x squared into x squared is going to give us 1. Then y cubed into y cubed is going to give us also 1. So we will end here. So this is our final answer. This is how you express what is it, your answer. Now let's move on to the next problem here. What we see now is that we can see that there is a here, and there is b here, and there is x plus y, x plus y. So this, consider it as one term. X plus y, consider it as one term. Why? Because it's in a bracket. So if it's in a bracket, just look at it as one term. Okay, so it's one term. So in this case here, we can see that x plus y is common. So we can take x plus y here. X plus y, because it's common. Then what are we going to be left here? We're going to be left with, on this first one is going to be a left. Then on the second one it's going to be plus b. So this is going to be our final answer like that. Okay. What about here? Do we see something here? A minus b, a minus b. A minus b is common, but what we have here, we can take a minus b out. Then when you take a minus b out, on the first bracket, we're going to be left with a minus b. A minus b, because we're just saying 2 minus 1. Then here, we're going to be left with, if we take out a minus b here, we're going to be left with 3. So this is going to be our answer. Now, take this as the same as saying x squared minus 3x. Okay, so in this case here, you'll be having x outside, then you will be having x minus 3. So take a minus b as just x. Like I said, look at it as one term. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Now in this case, there's something different here. 7a x minus 3y. Then here is the reverse, is 3y minus x. So can you see what is happening here? Now I want you to learn something now. A minus b is the same as minus b minus a. Do we see something here? So if we had to apply a negative, what we have done here is just that we want it to look the same way as what is it? Did it make sense here? A minus b is the same as minus b minus a. Okay, so in this case here, what we are just saying here is that if we are to apply a negative, this will change. It will be x minus 3y now. If you are to apply a negative here, it's going to be also the reverse as well. Are we understanding each other here? Because if we are to solve this part here, what you will have here, minus b plus a, which is just a minus b, like what we have here. Okay, so when you apply a negative, that will change everything. So in this case here, these two are identical. So we can simply write the same thing. When you put a negative, we're just going to reverse and say, okay, we are now starting with b subtracting a, but we have a negative outside to keep everything the same. Now, the same applies here. What we're going to do here is that we're going to take 7a in bracket x minus 3y, because we want to change what we have so that we can have similar brackets. The brackets can be identical. What we need to do here is to apply a negative. So when you apply a negative here, we're going to have negative, then that negative and negative, and negative is going to be for b here. Then we have what is it? X minus 3y. Can we see that 7a, then bracket x minus 3y, then here plus, because minus times minus is going to give us plus, then here is going to be 4b x minus 3y. Because what we are fighting here is that we want the brackets to be identical so that we can have a common factor, highest common factor. In this case, we now have x minus 3y as our highest common factor. Then left out on the first one is going to be 7a. On the second one, it's going to be plus 4b. Okay, so in future, just know that when there's a negative here and you see this, you're just going to change to positive. Then you change here the order. Now, let's look at this one. I want us to solve this one quickly. Now, we have got 4. We have got 4y x cubed minus 2. But in this case, it's 2 minus x cubed. So what are we going to do? We apply a negative. Then in bracket x cubed minus 2. So what we have done here, we just changed. When you put a negative, it means that you're going to reverse and start with x cubed minus 2. Then here we have our common factor there, which is x cubed minus 2. Then another bracket for y. Here is going to be just minus 1, because this actually means that we have a 1 that is silent there. Okay, I hope you guys understand this part here, where you know that if the bracket, if what we have in the bracket, the same, we have got same terms, but one here is subtracting the other, but there is a reverse, but it's still same terms, you're just going to apply a negative. So it means that when you apply a negative, if there was a positive, you're going to have a negative. If there was a negative here, you're going to have a positive. That's what we have done here. There is a negative here, then now we have a positive. Here there was a positive, then now we have a negative. That's all, guys. I think you mastered this and actually prove to me in the exercise here that I have put for you. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe on the channel and also like our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to join the Google Classroom by first sending me the work, then I'll give you access to the classroom, okay, for free. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.